Yep, you guessed it. You guessed it. The Magic are going to be the worst team in the East. I know, it's super shocking. It's super shocking. I know. I understand. Sorry, Magic fans, you're probably going to be the worst team in the NBA. But let's talk and give a nice little preview for what's coming up for the Magic this year. Thanks for watching and clicking on this video. My name's Adam. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Orlando Magic and their kind of a preview of their season. And we're going to be talking about these four things here, as you see on screen. Their offseason, what they've done in the offseason, kind of make their team better, and moves that they've made. Talk about kind of where they stand on their salary cap situation, along with discussing rotations and their projected win total, according to Vegas. Before we get into it, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, tell me where I'm wrong about my takes or good about my takes or whatever it may be. And let's just hop right into this now. Okay, so let's talk about the Magic and what they did in the offseason. The first thing is that they drafted, and they were blessed with draft picks from the Chicago Bulls Nikola Vucevic trade that they made last season, and that was able to net them a top 8 pick in this last NBA draft. They were able to select Franz Wagner with that selection, and they also grabbed Jalen Suggs. One of the good things I see with this Magic team is they have so much youth. Now, I think that's a good and bad thing. Obviously, they're not going to win any games, so that's kind of the downside of it. But the good thing is that they're going to be able to have so much young talent that they can kind of pick and choose from. And with Suggs and Wagner, they're very, very good, and I think they're going to be good in the next few years. So maybe buy your stock now in Orlando, because I think they'll be pretty okay in the future. Other things to mention about this, there's my dog, Dwayne Bacon, Otto Porter, and are both gone. Otto Porter came from that Bulls trade, and Dwayne Bacon was waived. Currently, James Ennis is not signed anywhere, and so they, the Magic have his. Technically, we're the last team to have him on roster. I don't believe he's officially signed anywhere else. And then they've also added some veterans in Etuan Moore and Robin Lopez. These are a little questionable for me personally, and we'll get into that when we talk about rotations. But let's jump over to their good old cap sheet and kind of discuss why I believe the Magic, again, are good moving forward here. So one player that is making the most, the player that is making the most money for this Magic team is Gary Harris. So Gary Harris is making about a little under $20.5 million this next season. It is a final year of his deal, so it's nothing long term. So I'm not going to lose sleep over that. He is a dude that I actually think is probably going to be headed towards a buyout, maybe because again, I don't see, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to rotations with the Magic, because that's really key, and one thing I really want to hit on with them. But with Harris, I just think that he is probably best suited for a veteran role, buyout candidate to go to a contending team. He's still relatively young. I mean, but he's been in the league for 7 years. He was something at one point in Denver, and then he kind of just tailed off. He wasn't shooting the ball as well. There was health concerns with him. And so Harris, I think, is a buyout candidate, maybe a trade piece that they could move, but I think it's more likely that he's not on this team at the end of the season. So there's a little prediction for you roster-wise for the Magic. The one thing also that the Magic get back, they get back Jonathan Isaac, who tore his ACL in the bubble of 2020. So he missed all of last season, and there are some concerning reports coming out of Orlando that say that he may not even be ready like immediately for the season. So that's one thing we're going to kind of keep an eye on as we get through this preseason that we're going to see here in the next couple weeks, and as we get reports from training camp and such, is how exactly, like, when should we expect Jonathan Isaac to be playing again? Because he's probably their best player. He is their best player now with Vucevic gone. And so Isaac, we'll just see what happens, because you look at his contract here, they have him for the next 4 seasons, and he is this going to be like a half of a season for him? Is he going to come back in January? Like, there's some really weird stuff with this injury. Again, it was an ACL injury. Some guys come back 10 months later. Some guys maybe come out and it takes him like 12 to 13 months. So is there an issue or something there that we really should worry about? We'll keep an eye on it. Markelle Fultz also tore his ACL, and unfortunate for the Magic. I mean, they had two ACL tears within a couple of months of each other. Obviously, two separate seasons, one in the bubble, one the start of last season. And so Fultz, I don't know if he's a full go. I haven't heard anything about Fultz and his health. He got injured about December of last year, so I think he'd probably miss maybe another couple months here. And again, usually when these guys come off of ACL injuries, they're going to be rested on back-to-backs, and they're not going to be playing heavy minutes. So that is kind of what brings me to my next point of just the whole rotations for the Magic. How is that going to look exactly? Which we'll cover actually in a minute. I do want to get through to Terrence Ross here, because Terrence Ross is on a good deal. He's making about 24 million over the next couple seasons, and pretty good. Not a horrible contract, and I think it's a movable contract if there is a team out there that says, hey, we need some shooting, maybe a little bit of scoring off the bench. I think Terrence Ross is a solid 6th to 7th man for a team that is in need, again, of additional scoring and from a wing player. So I think he'll likely be traded as well. That's kind of the trade candidate and the buyout candidates for the Magic, in my opinion. And then we see the big run of players like Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter, Suggs, Wagner. Nothing crazy, right? Like, you look at this is a very clean cap sheet. This is something that you want to see from a team that's rebuilding. You don't want to see like horrible contracts unless they're getting compensated for those horrible contracts with draft picks in the future. And they actually did get another draft pick from Chicago in that Vucevic trade. So the one that turned into Franz Wagner this year, and then one that will, I forget the protections on it. Let's actually check it out really quick. They get Chicago's pick if it lands outside of the top 5 next year. So that will be another pick that they, again, have on their side, and they don't even have to carry a bad contract for it. So pretty solid stuff there from the Magic. Let's get into rotations. This is the big thing I want to talk about. Jalen Suggs, and this is from hoopshype.com, so this is kind of what they project the rotations to be like. Suggs, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter. They do have Wagner starting here at the 3. Maybe it's Ross, maybe it's not. Maybe they prefer to keep him on the bench and kind of play that reserve role. But there's a logjam of guards here. So we see Jalen Suggs, we see Cole Anthony, who played. We forget about Cole Anthony. I mean, he was a good player last season for this Magic team. He was solid, and again, what was his rookie year. And then they bring in Suggs, who's kind of like the point guard of the future for the team. They bring in. They already have Markelle Fultz, I should say. They also got RJ Hampton last year from trade, who plays more of the 2 guard. And then they also have Gary Harris from that Nuggets deal. And Etuan Moore, who they just signed. And the weird thing about all 6 of these dudes is that they can all not only play the point guard, they can also play the other guard position as well. They can play off ball a little bit. So I just am interested to see how much minutes go where. Like, do they just sit Fultz? Like, are they fine with just saying, hey, Fultz, take as long as you need to come back from your injury, and we'll just play everybody else? Because they have 3 really young, solid point guards. And so who's going to get the short stick and not play a whole lot of minutes, as far as guard minutes for this team goes. Other than that, I think Wagner and Terrence Ross, I think that's a solid just back, two-man starter reserve kind of a situation there at the 3 for a team as bad as Orlando, at least. Chuma Okeke is one of the guys that I actually really like a lot. He showed some promise last year after missing I think he missed all of his rookie year because he had an ACL tear. That seems to be a running trend with this team. He had that tear happened in college though, so he dropped in the draft. I think he went undrafted. I believe he was a 2nd round pick. Didn't play his rookie year. Last year he comes in, doesn't play a whole lot of minutes, but there were some points in the year where he was looking really good. Obviously, we mentioned Jonathan Isaac as well. Moritz Wagner, who's the brother of Franz Wagner, so we got some family ties on this team. And then also the logjam that's at center. This is the other thing I wanted to mention as well. Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba, and Robin Lopez. They're all tight, right? Like they're all like, Lopez has played a reserve role most of his career. Wendell Carter was kind of supposed to be the guy in Chicago. He now gets traded to Orlando, but they already have Mo Bamba, who they spend a top 5 pick on. And so who kind of emerges from that center lineup? Is there a way that they put in both Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba on the floor at the same time? I don't think that's the greatest thing in the world to do, but it is possible for the team. And it'll be interesting to see how they use their lineups moving forward, because again, Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba need to, I think their rookie deal, let me just pull up their cap situation here again. So they are due for extensions, both of them. They both come from the same draft class, and the Magic will have to decide like on probably one of them. So it's a really interesting situation. And then they added Robin Lopez to that. It kind of didn't make sense to me there. But it is what it is, and we'll just kind of see how Orlando does. This is what Vegas says. Vegas says 22.5 wins is their projected win total. I will take the over, similar to how I kind of, my thought process for Oklahoma City is I think they'll just barely be able to get over this number. Maybe it's 23, maybe it's 24 wins. Maybe it's just barely under, right? But I'll take the over on it. I'll say 23 to 24 wins for the Magic, because again, I think they do have some good games. I think there will be a game in the regular season where you see they're competing really hard with a good team, but they just don't have the experience because they're so young as a team. So anyway, that's what I think about the Magic. What do you guys think about the Magic? Feel free to comment in the comment section. We coming out with more videos. Again, we're going to do 2 a days here. We're going to do 2 videos a day every weekday up until we're finished, and that will be about the start of the NBA season. So stick with us, subscribe to the channel if you like the content. I'm also going to be coming out with some NFL and college football stuff along with college basketball stuff as well. So yeah, just feel free to hit that subscribe button, and we'll create more fun stuff. We'll see you in the next one.